and it's green now. So hopefully it's okay. I might need to go tell the other people around here to stop watching TV or something. But I also, anyway, so to restart, I mean, who knows if you guys are getting notifications? Who knows if anybody's watching? I mean, that's the way this shit works. It's fucking weird. Um, but I'm back from dinner with a couple dear friends. This isn't starting how I wanted it to, but it's fine. Nothing ever happens how we want it to, right? Um, but everything happens as it should. Um, so what I was trying to say, I was just going to show my face for a second and then go take care of some business. Namely, I really have to pee. I really need to fill a glass of water because this is going to be. I'm not going to talk. Well, actually, I will talk quite a bit tonight, but there'll also be a lot of dope ass amazing music. So if you're turning in for the first time, I'm going to share a life update. If you have seen many of these, we're going to continue along with our story, but we're going to do just basically a full experience of the first two parts of my album. So I'm super excited about it. The album is called Circle Electro Exotica. Parts 1 and 2 are Smoke Clouds and Stagnation, respectively. 6 tracks total, but it'll be two essentially complete, 3-track parts. It'll be really fun, but my bladder is, full, and I need some time over there. So I'm going to leave, and I'm going to come back. You guys just sit tight and enjoy looking at my drum set or whatever for a little bit. Fuck. Wait, hang on a second. Ignore? Is it gone? I got a notification that OBS quit unexpectedly, but it's still here apparently, and the thing is green. It's turning yellow. But yeah, so I'm gonna run away and do a few things for a few minutes. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and urinate. Might need to tell everybody to get off their devices if they can in the rest of the house. I'm gonna try to reduce my device usage as well, so I can maximize my bandwidth for this bullshit. And I will see you shortly, and you can look at my drum set. There it is. It's really cool. It's a DW. Nice manufacturers. One of the few good companies left. Or whatever. Okay. I mean, drum manufacturers are all pretty good. Music instrument manufacturers are amazing. They make all the... okay, I have to pee. Hang on. That's you. Hi, everybody. I'm back, and I brought a child for just a moment. Olivita, say hi to the people you can't see. Hi. Say hi. Olivia, what do you have to say? Say something to the fans.
No.
Okay.
No.
No. This is my sobrinita,
No.
Olivita.
No.
Okay, cool. We'll take you back into the house. All right, and then we'll get this shit going. Okay, let's get serious now. How you guys feeling? I don't even know if anybody's watching or if I'm even streaming. Let's see. So I think what I'll do is put my phone on airplane mode because it's almost dead anyway, and it is a failing device. And I'll tune into the Twitch stream on my iPad, set it up somehow so I can see it. Whew, man, that kid's a lot heavier than last, when I lived here. Anyway, she's a cutie pie. Brought me so much joy, so much healing, and she's just amazing. I'm a little sad that she doesn't want to jump into my arms all the time now and really just wants me to chase her everywhere. She's at that age. But shout out Tomas Canseco, Gladys Canseco, and their whole family, Eli and Olivia, and all the massive extended family, for just being so amazing, and just really being family for me out here. So let's see. I think it says live. It does say live. It looks like my drum set currently. There's 3 viewers. Great. I have 3 fans. Okay. Let's see how far behind it is. I think it says live. It does say live. Okay, cool. I think I'm maybe like 15 or 20 seconds ahead of you guys. If you're in the chat, if you're signed in, if you're not signed in, you can create an account. It's not that hard. I believe in you. That will enable you to participate in the chat. If you've never used Twitch before, it's pretty easy. I mean, Twitch is a really fucked up program that is super confusing, but if you're just using it for like viewing, it's pretty easy to just make an account and, and then you can, be in the chats and like use the fucking emotes and shit. Other than that, though, they suck. I'm not going to be too much, an asshole like that, or like, talking about all the shitty platforms. Maybe I will. But this night is really more about providing a life update for, this community or whoever has been following these streams / my budding artist career / unintentional insanity. Holy shit. God damn it. I think you're losing me again. Fuck. Let's see. My budding artist career / unintentional insanity. Holy shit! God damn it! I think you're losing me again. Let's see. So I'm like currently looking at. Okay, no, I think I'm back. So we might experience some dropouts. Hopefully we won't when I switch to kind of like the pre-arranged shit. I'm gonna keep this playing though. I'm gonna turn all the volume down. We're down to 2 viewers, so I don't know. But we're gonna do this anyway, and maybe, some people will tune in. I get really insecure like watching how many people are watching, because somehow my sense of self-worth is wrapped up in like how many people are paying attention to me. It's part of what kind of led to, my mental breakdown anyway. So I'm trying to move away from that, trying to figure out other platforms and ways to get people to give a shit and connect. But I know it's a long road, and our society doesn't really encourage us to truly be connected and experience quality shit unless it's like shoved down our throats or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of quality shit out there, but I don't know. I mean, whatever. Watch the what's it called? The Social Dilemma. Okay, so enough about that. This is it would be really nice to get a couple chats in the chat to just confirm that I'm not the only one here. But you guys can do whatever the hell you want, and I'll just kind of start getting into this. So if you checked out the Instagram, if you checked out Facebook or any of the stuff that I was using to announce this and kind of update where my life's at, it's been an intense year, and I thought that it would be appropriate to kind of start back at, I don't know, not the beginning necessarily, but sort of just my experience of like the last 12 months, 10 to 12 months. So fall of 2019, I had been kind of coming off of a fall of really just, attempting to live the bohemian artist freelance lifestyle. I had a little bit of extra financial support that summer in the form of a gift from my grandparents. And, that empowered me, enabled me, because I had also simultaneously realized that, gosh, I don't have a job for the first time in, God, since I've, finished grad school. Well, actually I had jobs all through. So like since college. So it was really, really exciting. This is summer 2019 I'm talking about, to just be kind of job free and have a little support and be able to kind of just live free for a little bit. And I was still living here in the Conseco house, and my rent was super cheap because they're so generous. So I really could just kind of throw myself into a wonderful, amazing summer, which amounted to the most epic Burning Man ever. Shout out French Vanilla and Art House. It did lead, though, to kind of like living in my own fantasy world, and looking back, since I have been diagnosed bipolar now, it was a hypomanic episode, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's this distinction in psychology of bipolar 1 and 2. I do think that's kind of bullshit, because really everything, like anything, is a spectrum. So, looking back over my life, I've had all kinds of experiences like that, and essentially kind of, I wrote in one of my updates, I've kind of structured my whole life around these fluctuations, and really, been struggling and dealing with stuff for quite a while. Oh, hang on a second. This will help. I think my voice is soft. Hello, yeah. All right, that's a lot better. Let's bring our gain down slightly. There we go. Hey. Cool. Now we should have a little bit of good processing on the vocals. So apologies if that made you or your cat jump. I don't even know how many viewers. Let's see. Did we pick up any more? 4. Nice. Okay. At least 3 people care about me, because one of those is me, just making sure this doesn't break or stop or fuck up or fall apart. I think I'm like maybe 10 or 15 seconds ahead of you guys. So if you chat at me, which please do, so I can have some validation. Oh, signal strength got yellow and red for a second. Anyway, I'm going to watch the frames and see. I think that might just be video. I think the audio should still be good, but we'll see. I did lower my video bitrate to see if it would be better, and if it stops, I can lower it again, and I don't know. But you should still be able to be hearing the pristine, magical... Oh, nice. There's Ron. Dad. Hear you fine. Cool. Thank you for the validation. Man, whenever I see the chats, though, I get like distracted and lose my train of thought. So anyway, I'm going to try to see that they're happening for some validation, but I try to not pay attention to them when I'm trying to talk. But anyway, so 2019, right? I was in this kind of just really, really creative, free space. until the money ran out, and I had to look for a job because finding freelance gigs and keeping that up is really hard and stressful, and I've always had a lot of like insecurities about feeling like I'm worth it. So like I did find a job. It was very very lucky. Kind of fell into my lap like most of my work shit. I have also a complex of not really taking the initiative when it comes to finding stuff because of this whole like insecurity of not believing I'm worth it. So, but an old production manager, I mean, hired me for a gig. I'm not going to say too much about it, other than it was really really exciting. I was on the production management team for a massive convention. Got a chance to really taste what con life is all about, and work really really hard. It was super stressful, and really exciting. Learned so much, and of course, with COVID, we wound up having to cancel said convention and pivot and do a virtual thing, which turned out really well. My signal strength is red again, but we'll keep going. I'm just gonna stop saying it as it happens, and you'll just sort of see my face get concerned. And then if it stops, then I'll restart it. And if that happens, you just hit play again whenever it pops up, and it'll be okay. Um, but yeah, I it was just all consuming was really kind of the thing, and creatively stifling, and there was a lot of it was definitely like different than what I was expecting. I mean, it's always not a good thing to go into anything with expectations, but somehow I always do, and you know I it was very very important for me to go through experience of that, to realize that it's not good for me to engage in things that are that far out of my comfort zone. Maybe it was a blessing, but it was also really tough that I wound up getting laid off from this job at the end of July due to COVID, and it's been equal parts again a blessing and a really rough time since, in the sense that I kind of, with the unemployment is nice, but it's not enough to really live comfortably out here, especially with the crazy amount of debt I'm in, and still paying off. But I really did, instead of like looking for work right away, because I had no clear path forward. I don't didn't really know what to do. I have a lot of things I'm excited about, but I, with being a live events music audio person, it's pretty bleak out there to do anything that's not depressing. So I kind of just threw myself headfirst completely into my music and art. And so that's why you've been able to see so much progress in my projects, because I've had all this time to really dive deep. And ultimately, that diving in deep led to being in too deep. And especially throughout the course of releasing this part of the album, Stagnation, which you see as my overlay here, the stagnation flag, which we'll get into when I get into the Cirque stuff. Um, this part of the album, like this album is very, very personal to me, even though it's very much structured to be music for anyone, music and art for anyone, because it has expanded from just the music and just the lyrics to a full-on multimedia multiverse, I've been calling it, where it really is this world building. Like, I've always been excited about creative universes, like, to just list a few, like Star Wars, Song of Ice and Fire, George R. R. Martin's fantasy series on which the HBO show Game of Thrones was based. And more recently, after learning a little bit about it through a recommendation from a dear friend, Amber Bliss, Rain and Sunshine, she pointed me to a podcast where they were dissecting an album by Childish Gambino, Donald Glover's music project of Because of the Internet. And I'm not going to get too much deep into that because I want to focus on my stuff ultimately. But, that's been really, really inspiring to me as I was already kind of doing it, and it's really been encouraging to me because he had a break from the internet for a long time, had his own sort of mental breakdown, but then created an album. But it's more than just an album. He created this whole sort of multimedia experience in this cryptic way where he was like introducing himself back to the internet, and it was all full with intention, and the whole thing is structured into these different acts where there's different characters, and it's just like what I'm doing. So I don't know how much, if anything, many people have really gotten into with this. Lots of people, well, I don't say lots of people because my average viewership is like, oh, hi, John. My average viewership is like 7 or something. But I know that those 7 are people that really, really care, and that's really all I care about. I mean, well, it's not all I care about. I do want to ultimately get fans and a fan base and connect and make a living out of this, hopefully someday. But it's really about quality over quantity, and having just people who care be the ones who tune in and engage. I don't care about. Actually, I would be lying if I said I don't care about followers or how many people are watching my story, any of that, because part of what I was getting into during this stagnation phase is I had one of these episodes, or this sort of elevated mood start to come up, and I was realizing that, and really frustrated that this was happening, because like, my whole life I've experienced shit like this, and I haven't known what to call it, and I was sort of brought up in a way to think of mental health and resolving one's issues as being kind of like willpower and just kind of fighting through it. And I have engaged in a lot of alternative lifestyle stuff, and I don't know, just a lot of different stuff that may not have been the healthiest for me, but was very different from the way I was raised and the way I was until I became an adult. That it has been hard to kind of come to terms with and reconcile. I've always been trying to like prove myself to somebody, which then that somebody is myself. And anyway, I felt one of these episodes coming up, and I've learned to recognize and label it. I had been really upset and disappointed ultimately with my previous provider, who was prescribing me meds. Anytime I tried to bring up bipolar with her, she would kind of brush it off and say, I don't really know what it is. Bipolar 2 specifically. I think it's just depressed people not being depressed. But yeah, it's just I've gone through these sort of cycles so much that I know it when it's happening, and I was really frustrated in that moment because I'd voluntarily stopped taking Adderall, and that went through this whole like withdrawal thing, and I started feeling like I was coming up again. I just got really pissed off at what was happening in a way, because but at the same time I'm like feeling really good. There's all this dopamine that's starting to just like rush to my brain, right, without any anyway. But there's all I don't want to belabor this too much because I realize I'm already like 40 minutes in, and some people got to go to bed, and we got a lot of music to listen to. But I sort of decided in that moment, as I was already kind of beginning to get elevated and a little crazy, that I was going to lean into it and see what happened. I'm like, I got this release cycle that is unfolding. I'm really proud of it. Like, I'm super excited to be sharing this. Like, let me lean into this and document the whole thing and kind of create these personas that I can embody for each chapter of this part. So the first chapter was Seasons. Well, it's actually the 4th chapter in the album. And that really kind of deals with a lot of like introspection and self-analysis, self-study. And I like, to tell you the truth, I was not ready in time. I was really discombobulated when I got into it, and it showed in that the very first B4 stream, where I was still trying to kind of throw everything together, but I was really excited to share the thing and starting to kind of lose it. And then as I was getting a little bit more into it and started getting like really positive responses, like lots of new followers, lots of people reaching out, saying how much they loved it, and really getting into this universe and this whole like dystopian reality that parallels my own, that is part of the narrative of the album. As I was getting into all that, I decided that I was going to kind of embody this character from the narrative, which essentially is also a caricature of who I believe a caricature of the persona I believe that, certain entities in my life saw me as, when they've been disappointed in me, or like, concerned about me, which really, I kind of equate to that sort of reckless personality I get when I get really deeply into something. It doesn't have to be, like it could be anything, because I just really become super obsessive and absorbed in whatever I get into. So it's part of the, condition or brain character or whatever. We got you, Brian. It's only 26 minutes. Oh, okay. That's because I had a little pause and had to go pee and take a shit and bring a child in and stuff. Oh, and then it fucked up. Anyway, do my best to not make this long winded. But sorry, because that's what I can't help myself but do. Okay, but so and at the same time, I was being like really frustrated about this and just kind of feeling this, episode come on. I thought I would be okay because I was like, I'm bipolar too. I will have a very kind of crazy personality, but I'll be okay. I'm not gonna harm myself or others. Famous last words. I mean, I didn't ultimately like physically harm anybody or myself, but uh, I kind of launched into this whole thing. So, I was hearing, I was getting a lot of this good feedback, and it was like every time it'd be like this hit, right? And it was just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna start like documenting everything on Instagram. And I was doing all these like ridiculous stories of me in this like elevated state, and then I was doing the streams, and I made all these fucking weird ass highlights because like nobody's gonna want to watch the 3 hour stream. Not many people tune in. Let me just make a bunch of like random highlights and like describe them, take notes in this weird fucking cryptic code bullshit, and then post it with like all this vulgar shit. Like anytime I see the syllable "come" or "but" or I don't know, I'll like transform shit into like really horrible stuff and post relentlessly on Facebook because Facebook is a fucking joke, and it just turned into this whole thing where my character I was playing, this persona I was playing, was just not. I mean, I'm actually proud of what I did. I'm actually happy that I documented it because I think a lot more people need to really see, this mental health stuff for what it is, and develop a greater sense of empathy and compassion, especially if you don't have a frame of reference for what this feels like and what it's really like to be not yourself. I mean, it's always myself, right? But it's things are not in their normal place or whatever, and I just got really carried away with it, and through the Jungle Man week, that was when it got the most extreme. To where by the end of the week, I was not sleeping, not really doing anything healthy for myself, barely eating, super dehydrated, dabbing and drinking beer and whiskey like crazy, and my roommate left for an epic road trip to to East Coast, and it was like as soon as he walked out the door on Friday morning, like this is 3+ weeks ago, it was something snapped for me, and I broke down, watched the Paris Hilton documentary, broke down some more, and this sort of planned social media suicide that kind of became in my elevated state like my plan. I realized that I was out of control, and I was I was losing touch with reality, and like the separation between who's the character and who's me, and it was really fucking scary. I freaked out my therapist, and she had to really kind of come at me pretty aggressively to get me to kind of come to terms with where I was at, and once the dopamine was all exhausted and I was crashing hard, the depression was horrible, and it's been and will be a long road to recovery. I think that is, I'll kind of wrap this portion up because I've gone through it so many times and told it to so many people, and I just went through the whole thing with a couple friends at dinner just now. If you do care and if you want to hear more, I wrote out the whole summary of like the last 3 weeks, handwritten, posted to my story on Facebook and also to Instagram. And I think it probably popped up as a post on Facebook. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to those platforms other than posting to them today. So, I'll take a look and I'll see what all the feedback is and respond to it. But essentially, what I'm going to be doing after this final kind of farewell stream tonight, for now, is tomorrow I'll be checking myself into a lovely treatment center called Recover Integrity. It's nestled in between Brentwood and Santa Monica here in California. So sorry if any Arizona friends are watching. I won't be moving back to Arizona at least for the next 30 days. I mean, I'm kind of just submitting to this thing and seeing where things go with no expectations because I just really need, ultimately realize I need, even though I probably seem okay now, I'm high energy. It's been good days the last few days, but it's not always been like this. And in fact, very often it's not been like this since this shit went down, and it's not really been okay for a while. This year especially. I think anybody and everybody can empathize with the fact that shit is fucked. I honestly, it is dubious, if that's the right word to me, that our species will even survive this century. Not to be super nihilistic or dark, but that's how I feel. Hopefully November. I don't know. Either way it goes, shit's gonna hit the fan right after. I can just feel it. So anyway, I mean, fuck that. Let's hear some music. Let's talk about art. Check out my gram until I deactivate it and basically just get rid of all my, I'm just going to temporarily disable or deactivate all my social media for the duration of my stay at this place. If you want to get back in touch, or if you want to get in touch with me, put a comment in the chat or send me a text or a DM, and I will add you to my list of folks to let you know how to reach me while I'm there. I mean, I think I will, it's all voluntary. Like, if I need to make a call, like, they'll give me my phone. I mean, it's not like prison. But I just really want to do my best to be completely immersed and disconnected and really just put in the hard work to work through this shit. It's about damn time. And, I will have a number, I think, and mailing address or whatever. And of course, you can always call the place. Look it up, recoverintegrity.com. They have an amazing website. You can learn about all the shit. It's just super integrative, and they've got, basically full integration of all the Western and the Eastern stuff. Holistic. And I'm super excited. Like it's been like fucking packing for summer camp. Okay, enough about all that. I'll talk a little bit at the end, and maybe you can hop in my Zoom if it's not too late and people are still watching. Thanks, John. It does. It really does. I mean, and it took these 3 weeks to finally come to terms with and accept and realize that this is the kind of care I need. I mean, seeing my therapist twice a week and psychiatrist once a week is super expensive in itself. I mean, this place is way more expensive, and thank God I've got backup from my folks and financial support from my grandparents for this. But yeah, I mean, and I'm really, really grateful for all the donations from my friends for helping me to at least cover all my expenses through the end of this month. But yeah, it's gonna be a long road, and I'm just surrendering and accepting of it. I think this mic keeps kind of like flopping down like a donkey dick. I don't know. I'm not. Fucking whatever. Jesus. All right, whatever. Okay. So let's talk about art and Circle Electro Exotica. That's why you came here, right? So Circle Electro Exotica, I'll kind of go through quickly. It's my album. It is volume 2 of the B4 Cycle of Pain, which is a planned 3-album trilogy of trilogies, I guess you could say. Each album has 3 parts. I wrote an entire album in my undergrad called Recognizance, which is like electro-organic prog rock, which I'm excited to get back to once this album's finished. And it's kind of cool that this is the first one of those 3 that I'm seeing through to completion, because then it's like Star Wars, kind of. You get the middle first, and then you go back to the beginning, and then ultimately you'll get the final trilogy, or whatever. It's going to be called Ansamaskaharata, and it's going to deal directly and dive super deep into the samskaras, which is a yogic concept of emotional imprints or circumstances, experiences that we've gone through where we haven't allowed them to pass through and process them fully, so they become embedded, and it's like trapped energy inside of you. If you believe in chakras, that trapped in your heart chakra, that just festers, and it has to come to the surface at some point. And the longer you bury it and let it fester, the worse it becomes. Case in point, what's happened to me recently. So, yeah. Cirque Electric Exotica, though, is essentially like an autobiographical tale of my life, if we talk about the lyrics, from like 2008 through 2013. I conceived of the album itself, though, in fall of 2012, while I was beginning my second year at Cal Arts, which is where I got my master's, MFA in performer composer, which was an amazing experience. But of course, if you go to music school or art school, it's like, well, what the fuck do I do now? So that's part of the story too, kind of. But yeah, it has the 3 parts. Part 1 is Smoke Clouds. I really released quietly over the winter transition into 2020. The first track, smilesxstripes, came out on the winter solstice last year, December 20th, I think, 21st, whatever, doesn't matter. Then a week later, Grand Chasm came out, track 2, and then a week after that, One Eye Open came out, and those are tracks 1 through 3. I call them chapters 1 through 3. At the same time, I launched my website, b4manmusic.com. Pro tip, that website will still be active, so get the fuck off social media if you care about me. No, I don't know. I mean, just, you can use it, do whatever. But yeah, all my shit will be hidden or deactivated, by midnight tonight or whatever. But my website will still be there. I may still be, I might get some updates up there eventually, but you'll definitely have the full story. My Bandcamp will still be up if you want to buy my stuff. It's pay what you want, no minimum. So if you're broke, you can download it for free. If you have a little money, I'd appreciate you buying something, because mental health care is really expensive. Life in California is fucking expensive. Anyway, so those 3 tracks. Let's talk about Smoke Clouds. So I mentioned that this is a multimedia multiverse, and Smoke Clouds is kind of your first introduction to this. I'll go through kind of what Smoke Clouds is all about with relation to all 4 of its aspects. Nice, here's Tomas. Tomas, we won't have a mic for you yet, but you can just hang out.
Just getting some things.
Getting some things? No, you're not going to stay? You mean the world doesn't revolve around me? Okay, so the music, let's talk about that, because that and the lyrics kind of were developed simultaneously. I mean, I wrote all the lyrics while I was writing all the music, while I was in my MFA at Cal Arts. smilesxstripes. Let's start with the lyrics, actually, because the lyrics, the roots of them date all the way back to 2008. I started some journals around that time. That were, they were my babies. It was like where I kind of poured out my entire heart and everything I was, discovering and learning and exploring as a young candy kid, rave child, insane person. And a lot of musical concepts in there, and a lot of my consciousness was being ripped open by all the stuff I was exploring. And so, that's sort of the source of inspiration for what Smoke Clouds is all about. I mean, it was a very It was just it was a pivotal time. It was a significant what do you call it? Like I don't know. Sometimes I can't find words, but Smells Like Stripes. The lyrics for it. It's about. I've said this in a similar way before. It's about curves and lines, grand designs, snakes and arrows, chutes and ladders, and what you get when you multiply them together. The product of the combination of those when you mix them together. Yeah, that's why it smells like stripes. So it's about all the different things that are both explainable and intangible, incomprehensible, and right there in front of your face at all times. And that's really what it kind of comes down to. I mean, there's a few, there's like kind of mention in a weird mystical way of this sort of things I was pondering at the time. Grand Chasm kind of relates to more or less to a a trip to the Grand Canyon, sort of a budding romance, and kind of falling deep into a very tough phase. One I open is a little bit of like a unawakened state, waking up and kind of it's about kind of just empowerment and like instead of feeling like a shitty person and a fuck up, thinking about being more of like, you know what, I am my own person. So that's what that's about. The music, I'll try to keep this succinct as possible. Smells Like Stripes is kind of like equal parts just this heavy hitting banging like dance club in my way track with some world percussion, but it also has this Persian stuff. So the Persian stuff is very significant because one of my mentors, teachers at CalArts, his name is Human Pourmehdi. He is a like fantastic Persian percussionist. His wife is a fantastic Persian composer and instrumentalist. They're both from Iran. They were the first two people, and in fact, Human especially, they were the first people when I was kind of developing this concept of, because I was just so inspired by all the world music stuff at CalArts, like it was completely unexpected. I thought I was just going to do tech there and composition, but I kind of, they have this thing at CalArts called interim, and where the first 2 weeks of the spring semester, they sort of like throw out the schedule and you can just sign up for all these really, really cool specialized workshops. And so I signed up for like all the world music stuff, which overloaded my schedule. And I took a Persian one, which I was kind of falling asleep a lot during because at that time I just never slept. And anytime I was sitting in a chair and just like listening or trying to pay attention to a lecture, I just naturally start falling asleep. But I love the music, and it has, I mean, Persian music is so amazing. It's one of the most mystical, like Persian classical music. I'll be specific about that because, it's based on folk music and stuff like that, but it really is its own thing. Persian classical, I was just so engaged in it. It has such a mystical quality and it's so complex, but also so loose and free at the same time. And it's all very much like inspired by poetry and like all these different elements of that culture. They just like blend together, and there's so much like inspiration from Rumi. And I told myself I wasn't gonna be long-winded. I'm still in Smiles Like Stripes, and you guys want to hear some music eventually, right? Before you have to go to bed. But hi, Miguel. Anyway, Puman was one of the first people I like very timidly, kind of anxiously came up to him once the workshop had concluded. I think we had 3 or 4 sessions of it throughout the 2 weeks. And I told them, you know what, I just really, really love this. I'm getting super into the world music stuff, and I'm super into dance music and electronic music, and I just see so many parallels between like the aspects of all these different cultures' music and what I really, really love about electronic music. And I think for the rest of my career here, my time here at CalArts, I really want to start creating this album that is, like a world electronic fusion thing. So, and Human, like right away, he was just so open. He like, lit up, and he was like, I'm very interested in these things. Let's do it. And so I think the next semester I had him for major lessons, and I was playing tombek, which is a beautiful Persian drum, goblet shaped, has its own just like amazing literature, but he's a master of it, and many Persian instruments, and but most of our lessons like we did like maybe 15 minutes of playing, and the rest of the hour we just talk, and sometimes I have no idea what the hell he's talking about because like you get into these Persian concepts and it's like, is this like, what is this? It's just like I have no idea what these words are you're saying because it's just so deep and so mystical and like, oh yeah. I mean, I got so into it, but I really just started to like internalize that Persian culture. And so anyway, the choice to use the kamanche at the beginning of it sounds like a violin or whatever, but it is a Persian bowed string instrument. That my buddy, who now is back in Iran, just doing Persian music thing and all this cool, really crazy experimental stuff. His name is Saba. He did those little solos that you hear. A couple of my percussion homies, Dan and Amir, did bongo congas. Oh, not yeah, bongo conga drum set. And then we had some daire, which is another Persian instrument Dan played, and some daf samples, which is this spiritual frame drum with rings in it. Sounds super cool. So yeah, we've got like Persian percussion, that halftime drop. We got a curious earnest refrain and all this just like really special stuff. So that's smilesxstripes. And then you got the bangin' techno, of course. Grand Chasm is all Indian. It's in two parts. It has the first part. I'm not gonna really get into all the details about raga and tal, which are the Indian concepts of melody and rhythm, respectively. But the first half, I'll just explain. It has it's improvisations in a rag called Bhairav, which is basically the equivalent of kind of that stereotypical Eastern scale to us Westerners, with like a flat, like a lowered second scale degree, and it's like minor with a lowered second scale degree. Let's say this. It's like Phrygian, but with a leading tone. Your raised seventh. That's all Greek to most people probably, or whatever. But it's very, very mystical. Very, very. It sounds great, and they're all improvising. The three musicians, the Indian musicians I worked with, are Will Marsh on the sitar, Darian Smith on the sarod, and Vineet Vyas on the tabla, which is the instrument I studied. I, was not good at it, but I really loved, doing all the stuff. And he's a master. I mean, he was a, fucking professional Indian musician before he showed up at CalArts. He's amazing. All of them are amazing. Their performances are amazing. And I fucking tripped him out with all his crazy effects. And I played a little kanjir on it, which is a South Indian tambourine that's way tucked in the background, but it's dope. The second half is actually not an original by me, but it is a traditional composition by Ali Akbar Khan, who is founder of the Ali Akbar Khan School of Music in Northern California, is the brother of fuck. Oh my God, I'm gonna forgive me. I forget his name, so we'll move past that. But he's just basically one of the leading exponents, or I don't know what the word is, but person who brought Indian music, specifically Hindustani classical music, North Indian classical, to the United States, to the Western world, and like his sort of school is like what a lot of, I mean, the Ashish Khan, there we go, Ali Akbar Khan and Ashish Khan. So Ashish Khan was my Indian music teacher at CalArts. Can't believe I forgot that. Sorry, Ashish. But anyway, Ashish taught to Darian, the sarod player. He taught a composition in Rupak Tal, which is a 7-beat cycle. So if you are familiar with Western counting, or you just kind of count on your fingers, that's actually in 7, which you don't typically find in dance music ever. But I did it. I mean, I don't even know if you'd call this dance music. but it's EDM, I guess. I mean, it's beat-driven electronic music. But he had done an arrangement, and then I kind of like stole it from him. Not really. I actually loved it so much and kept working on the production of it. He did kind of the groundwork and initial scratch recordings, and then we worked together to create the second half. And I merged them together to the epic 9-minute version of Grand Chasm that you're about to hear. And that's that. Musically, When I Open is really kind of like a world percussion piece. Like that's kind of where it came from. Love the comment, John. I'll look at it later. When I Open, okay, so it has this sort of really weird middle section and kind of these two outer sections that are rhythmically, the vamp is the same. It's loosely based off of a South Indian time cycle called Adital, which is 8 beats. So really, you can think of it as just like 2 measures that repeat if you're into Western shit. But it has these 2 vamps that are interlocking that I won't explain what they are because whatever. But it's very interesting in that the beat is not, like your typical beat because it's very Indian in at least its rhythmic structure. But it has all these different instruments, right? We've got Vineet on the tabla, we've got Dan on the djembe, we've got Amir on the drum set, we've got electric guitar played by this guy Steven. Of course, I forgot to mention earlier, Tommaso, you saw pop in earlier to grab some stuff. He does the vocals, Jackie Owens, fantastic human being. One of my friends at CalArts has been a big supporter and always, is like happy whenever I do an announcement of stuff and tag her. But anyway, she did a lot of the like female backup vocals on the album. She sings on it. Who else we got on there? I think that's everybody who's on When I Open, but it's structured in this vampy thing that just repeats, and we have a hook and we have solos, and I programmed all the marimba stuff. I didn't actually perform it because I don't know, it's just easier to program it, and it's like 4 layers, some of which are synthesized, some of which are like sampled marimbas, and it's sick. I'm really happy with how I kind of restructured the mix. It was very like aggressive and not really pleasant for most people to listen to for a while, and I think it wound up being in the right place. I'll talk a little bit about the middle section for a section. It's actually, I'm comfortable being vulnerable enough to describe the full story. I've alluded to it a lot, but I was on a camping trip with drumline people. It's always just one of our favorite times of year. We're over spring break. It doesn't happen anymore, I don't think, because I think it's, the vibe of the USC band is I think for a good thing, kind of a lot more tame, in a lot of ways. But we used to go to Big Sur, beautiful place, Pfeiffer Beach / Fernwood Campground, and we would let loose. And for a lot of us, it would be the time, the only time of the year that we would do psychoactive substances, primarily psilocybin mushrooms. And I'm not sure if it was my first time or like the next year. It doesn't really matter, but it was one of these times where I like had to go take a shit in the outhouse or whatever they call the primitive bathroom. And I was on one. I was in a state and I was just really, really fascinated by this combination of sounds. There was kind of like this mechanical generator or whatever it was, kind of like doing this chugging thing Purple Sand, exactly. Purple Sand, the best. The last time I was there, I was actually with Miguel, and I wasn't on drugs. But yeah, so anyway, I was on mushrooms and just like a little 5-year-old just being so fascinated with all the beauty of the earth and just whatever was around me. I was really fascinated with this like kind of mechanical, signal strength. I think we're back. I was, listening to this mechanical, just chugging, which to me felt like kind of a compound meter, like 6/8 vibe. And I had a notebook with me, in my pocket. Like I would always have one in my pocket at the time. Oh boy, I hope it stays. I'm skipping. Hopefully the audio's good. Okay. Probably a signal to wrap this up, and hopefully it won't be as bad when I'm playing the shit. Okay. But yeah, I was really fascinated by that. And then I heard like dripping water in this bathroom from like a couple different sources. And I was like, fuck, this is so cool. And I wrote out on the piece of paper just like like a in Western notation. And then I like through each successive line of the journal, I was like, anytime I heard a drip, like write it, or there's like a little dot kind of like in a graphic score, if you're familiar with that stuff. And I kept that with me, and when it came time to put this album together, I was like, fuck, I really want to like go back to that because it was so cool. It was like such a dope experience. So what you hear in the middle section of One Eye Open is actually a transcription of, and like a production of that experience. That's why you hear the water dripping, and I love it. And I used it basically as a means to technically take this. I'm going to get a little theoretical right now. Take that pulse, the 90 BPM pulse that you get in the first part, turn into that compound meter that's very slow, and then I take the 16th note from that 90 BPM, right? Turn it into a compound meter. So instead of 4 subdivisions to the beat, you get 3, which are triplets. So it's like kind of like this, digga 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 digga, right? Then I take that pulse, which is now 120 BPM if you do the math, and I go back to duple, and we do the same vamp, but we transpose up from a Lydian mode to an Aeolian mode. Basically, major with a sharp 4 to your natural minor scale. And we do the whole thing again with even faster solos. We get a crazy drum set shit. We get a guitar solo. And then at the end, I sneak in a little funeral march. Or that's not a funeral march. It's like funeral music and dance of the Awe people of southern Ghana. That is called Gota, and it's very, very happy, very lively, because, like, why do funerals need to be sad? I mean, they are sad, but there's a great celebration of life that happens. And that is a tribute to my uncle, step-uncle, who passed away tragically the fall of 2011, I believe. And so I always think of him when this part happens. And you can think of any loved ones that you've lost in your life, because it is funeral music, but it's supposed to be very much a joyful celebration. But it's also, in a sense, One Eye Opens kind of slightly refers to, like, it just subtly refers to the fact of, like, opening one eye, right? Opening your third eye. In fact, I was going to, like, kind of call it third eye or third eye open for a while. But then I was really like, I'm woke, but I'm not that woke. And I've kind of been asleep, and I'm, like, waking up, or sort of, but I don't really want to be awake yet. Like, I've got one eye open, right? So that's what the title means. So I've been going for an hour now, I think, and it's way later than what I thought the schedule was going to be. So let's skip explaining the story. Let's skip explaining the artwork, because you're going to experience it all right now with a replay of the Smoke Clouds concept video, which I will get to people someday. It will be a bonus item if you download my shit at some point. Of course, each moment by moment, day by day. I'm really proud of it because it presents all 4 aspects of this part, namely the music, the lyrics, which incorporated the music, of course, the artwork, which I made all myself, and the story, the narrative, which has been the most recent development, which has tied the whole thing together. So, without further ado, I'm going to begin the playback of Smoke Clouds. You're going to watch this lovely video. The overlay is going to change to the Smoke Clouds overlay, and we're going to enjoy this music. Thank you for your patience. Let's see who's watching now. We got 7. Cool. So I gained 3 through all that bullshit. So hopefully I killed enough time to where we've got some people here who will enjoy it. I know the 4 of you, the last time I checked, were going to enjoy it anyway, and technically it's just 3 because I'm going to shut up. And here we go. Mute my ass, and here we go.
So attracted to
ashes before our eyes. Remember the black trails, the wild rocks, and the souls